Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm gonna just wait for you guys to trickle in. Happy Friday. How's everyone doing today? Say hi in the comment if you're new and this is your first time. Definitely let me know so I can give you a shout out. If you're not new, definitely comment. Let me know where you're tuning in from. I am Aisha Chidole. I'm an immigration lawyer. I represent clients all over the United States and internationally with their family immigration matter. So if you have an immigration issue, feel free to call me. And just as a point of notice, our only phone numbers are 407-995-6567, or you can send a WhatsApp to 404-333-8751. If anybody else tells you that it's me, or that's my number, it's not. We have like some scammers on TikTok telling people that they're us, and they really aren't us. So make sure that you are using the numbers on our platform, on our website. Anybody in the comment giving you some random numbers, it's not us. Okay, good morning, Chanel from Georgia. Good morning, Orville. Good morning, Vicky Brading. Hi, Chima from Houston. Hey, Sonia from Ohio. Hi, Goddess. Goddess says this is her first time. Good morning. Good morning for you, Salat. Um, Earl Jojo. Good morning. Good morning, Brandon. Happy Friday. I know I feel like my computer is freezing a little bit. So if you guys are having issues on Facebook, hopefully you guys can hear me. Yes, New York in the building. New York will always have my heart. You know, I'm a diehard New Yorker and I will never stop being a New Yorker, even though I live elsewhere. Um, oh, Orville says, do I need to book an appointment? Um, I don't know what it's in reference to, but just call the office and let them know, and they can schedule you to speak with me. Okay, guys, today I want to talk about cohabitation as a whole when you're submitting a green card application. Hi, Macadonas. Good morning from Washington State. Okay, so let's talk about cohabitation as a whole and what the requirements are. And I'm going to talk about cohabitation in the context of a normal marriage based case and applying for a green card. And then we're going to also talk about cohabitation for a VAWA based petition. So, cohabitation, for those who don't know, basically means showing proof that you and your spouse live together, right? When you have a marriage case, so even though the rules don't say you must be cohabitating at the time you file for your green card and the time you arrive at your interview, blah 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 blah, outside of you petitioning for somebody who lives outside the country, which obviously means you guys don't live together because the person lives outside the country, you have to have a really really solid reason why you guys are not living together. If you say, oh, we're not living together because, like, I just don't like the apartment where he is, or, she just doesn't like where I live, especially if you live in the same city, that's not good enough. Like, basically, you're setting yourself up to fail. Okay. You're setting yourself up to be denied. If you have a spouse who lives in a different state and you live in another state, and, it's like, oh, my spouse doesn't want to move. I'm here, and, they're like, oh, I can't, I'm not going to be able to find a job, or blah, blah, blah. And USCIS is like, okay, well, what does your spouse do? And then they find out that they're a cashier or something like that at a store. I'm just using that as an example. Or like, they're in like sales, like a salesperson, at a clothing store. I'm just picking random things. So I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just picking random jobs. Um, USCIS is going to say that's not good enough, because there are cashier jobs everywhere else in every state, just like there's sales jobs everywhere in every state where you can go work in a retail store or whatever it is. So that's also still not good enough. Now, if you have a scenario where you're not living together because, i.e., maybe you're married to somebody who came here on an F1 visa, and that person is a student and they don't want to be in violation of their F1 status, or they're like, okay, let me finish out the semester because they're actually in school and they've paid to be in school, which requires them to be on campus or something like that. And you, on the other hand, maybe you have a career that requires some sort of like licensing. Let's say like you're a nurse. I don't know much about nurses, and if they can, I mean, I guess some people travel nurses. Let me use doctor or lawyer, for example. That's easier. Like, and that person basically cannot just up and move to another state because they need a license to practice in that state or something like that. But it's in the works. That is more of a logical or plausible explanation. Or another example we've seen is where, you're married to somebody who's a pilot. And so the person is basically constantly moving back and forth from, because they're traveling so much. And maybe you have a child who's a school age kid, and you're just waiting out, and you guys just got married and you're just waiting out like for the school year to finish, and then maybe move to wherever the pilot's home base is or home base airport area is. So those are examples of things that make logical sense to USCIS or can be argued down. But if it's just that, oh, well, she works at Walmart, she doesn't want to leave her job, or, he works as a mechanic here, he doesn't want to leave his job, or, well, she just doesn't like my apartment, those are not good enough, because to USCIS, it shows that you don't have a legitimate marriage. And you could very well have a legitimate marriage, but like what I always tell people, when you're applying to immigration, like all the things that you think you can do on a normal basis, it doesn't apply in immigration. With immigration, you literally have to be the perfect couple. It sucks. It sucks, because in real life, there's some people that don't live together, but they're married. But for immigration, they want to see that. They want to see that because there's just so much cases of, fraudulent marriages, that these are some of the things that they look at to see what is going on. Um, and then, when you move over to the VAWA side of things, and, for those of you just joining in, feel free to type in your questions. When I finish talking about this, I'm going to answer your questions. So definitely drop your questions in the comments. So for like VAWA, for instance, the requirement is, unlike marriage where there's no written rule of cohabitation or not. If you're submitting a VAWA case, let me first explain what a VAWA case is for those of you who are tuning in for the first time. VAWA basically means it's Violence Against Women's Act. It's basically an act that allows people to get their green card by themselves without their spouses, children, or parent if they've been abused by that U.S. citizen or that green card holder in the case of a parent or a spouse. In that instance, you want to, cohabitation is a requirement. So let me state that again. Cohabitation for VAWA, if you're applying for VAWA, is a requirement. I'm going to break down when and how cohabitation can happen, but you must show that at some point you lived together. So prior to maybe what were we in? We're in April. So prior to March, so in February, USCIS stance was that cohabitation must happen after you've married, right? That you must show that you guys started living together or live together after you've married, even if you don't live together when you file, but you must show proof that at some point you live together. But now, and as of today, the rule is that cohabitation at any time, whether it was before marriage or whether it was after marriage, will be considered. So this is very good for those who maybe they were living together and then they got married, and logistically they couldn't live together before the spouse became abusive, or whatever the case may be, you will still qualify. So again, for VAWA cases, cohabitation is looked at prior to marriage or after marriage. Either or counts. The key thing with cohabitation on both sides is being able to show proof that you guys live together. Sometimes people are like, well, we don't have a lease, or I don't have a social security number and stuff like that. There are many ways to show that you live with somebody, outside of you being on the lease. It's what it is. Not everybody's going to be on the lease. And USCIS is, well, let's hope that they're not that unreasonable, right? If you have other evidence to show that, right? If you have like, so many bills coming in there, if you get your work permit and your W-2 is coming there, your stuff is coming to that address, you guys are having things addressed to you guys there, your health insurance, your car insurance, all those things that contain addresses, your bank statements, affidavits from people, affidavit from your neighbors, or people who have come to visit you. These are all things that you can also have if you don't have a lease. Sometimes also I understand, like, with some couples, lease, one person's, maybe their credit is bad, or they've had an eviction, and so they can be added on the lease and stuff like that. If that is the case for you, it is important to document that. So, when you're submitting things to USCIS, you got to think about it this way. That person doesn't know you. They don't know you. And so whatever you submit, if you do not have context or a way to explain what it is that you're submitting, just put an X on it. You might as well just put an X on it, because if you can explain to them, you're getting denied. So if you're saying, i.e., look, we live together, look at all these things, we don't have a lease because my spouse has an eviction or a previous eviction, or has a bad credit report, I will put that eviction there. I will put that eviction there so that they know that they can substantiate what you're saying, that you're not lying about that. And that is the reason why. I will put that denial if, let's say, you filed for the application for the lease and they denied you, and which is why only the other person's name is there. Again, because USCIS doesn't have time to do all that digging for you. The job and the onus and the responsibility is on you to give them everything to help them make a decision. When you go to USCIS interviews, I mean, outside of you being in a Stokes interview and stuff like that, literally you have 30 minutes to give them, what it is that they need. And if you're not able to explain that, either from submitting your packet or from, presenting that there, you reduce your chance. So again, with VAWA, cohabitation can happen before and after. I know some people ask me, well, how long do you have to live with a person? There's no requirement with VAWA cases of how long you have to live, but you have to be able to document that you actually live together. If you live together for a couple of months, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, just still be able to document that you live together, even if it was that short of a time, and then in marriage cases, cohabitation, while it's not listed as a requirement, you better have a pretty darn good reason why you guys are not living together, outside of, well, I don't like his apartment, or he's sharing a room and I'm sharing a room, and I'm used to living by myself. I don't want to go live with his mother. I don't want to go live with his dad, or whatever it is. Do what you need to live with your spouse if you want to get your green card approved. So that's that. Let me answer your questions. Nikki is saying, how are you feeling now? Thank you so much. I'm on the mend. I have really bad allergies, so I've been struggling all week. I think today's the first day that I still have a headache right now as I'm talking to you guys, but it's just not as bad. But my sinuses are clear and I'm not as teary-eyed. Dome Good Morgan says, good morning from Jamaica. What parish? Where are you from in Jamaica? My number is 407-995-6567, and WhatsApp is 404-333-8751. Make sure you do not call any other number, because those are our only two numbers. Let's see. Chanel says, Aisha, you're the best. Your team is awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Sandra says, you're looking beautiful as ever. I hope you're feeling better. You're my favorite lawyer in the world. Awesome. Thank you. I love you guys so much. Atabong says, hello, can you help me? My case is coming on 18 May in San Diego, and I'm in Virginia. What case? So that doesn't help me know what's going on with you, but definitely schedule a consult. Let's talk and see what's going on with you, and I'll let you know if I can assist you. Let me pin my number here. I'm going to attempt to pin my number 6567 or WhatsApp. Um, and then, call us once I pin this number and we can schedule you. Um, I always forget how to pin these things. Let's see, how can I pin it? Okay, I can't figure out how to pin it, but the number is right there on Facebook and YouTube. And then for those of you on Instagram, you can see my number in my profile. Okay, let me take some Instagram questions. I'm due for citizenship and still waiting for 10 years green card. Should I go ahead and apply for it? Well, one, I can't give you legal advice because you're not my client and I don't know what your case is. That being said, generally with my own clients, in order for me to give them the go ahead to submit a naturalization application, the conditional removal needs to be super solid. So there's so many ways to remove conditions. Is it jointly? Is it based on a kind of waiver? So all those things determine whether or not I would say to somebody, okay, go ahead and file for naturalization to push and force USCIS hands to schedule you for an interview. But honestly, naturalization interviews now are taking so long. Like, I mean, granted, you're going to still have some cases where it takes like 5, 6, 7 months for them to interview you, but on average, we're seeing like 11 to 13 months. So it doesn't. So what I'm saying is that I don't know that will necessarily push you to ahead of the line, but you need to have a really solid conditional removal case with solid evidence where you know for a fact you will be approved. Um, you know. Somebody, Terry says, how long for a work permit? I'm assuming you're asking how long before you get a work permit and a travel permit. Well, one, it depends on the category that you apply for, but I'm going to talk about marriage-based cases, VAWA cases. Most work permits and travel permit combo cards are taking about 5 to 9 months from submission to approval. Of course, when I say 5 to 9 months, there are always going to be people that will get it slightly earlier or later, but the general window is within this time. And usually USCIS will not let you make inquiries until you've passed the window of their published time, which you can actually find on USCIS case processing time website. Ms. Lynn Shu says, how does change of status work? Good question. The answer depends on what your current status is. In order for you to change your status while you're within the United States, you have to be in an active status. Or if you're filing slightly late, you have some flexibility to do what we call non-pro turk. That's basically saying, can you backdate it? And because these categories of things happen, but basically there's a standard that you have to meet to show why you submitted it late. Those are generally, like, you have to really have evidence of it and why you did it. I remember there's a client who we helped from the Bahamas during the hurricane a couple years ago. I think this was like 2019. And that person had gone to all these lawyers and they had said, well, we're not going to be able to do a change of status because, you've passed the deadline, meaning like her visa had expired, or not her visa, her I-94 basically to return back had expired. But we were able to do a non-protunct where we were able to show what was happening in the country, and that even if she wanted to go back and look at all her return tickets and all those things, there's literally no plane going back, and that client got approved. So in situations like that, you can get approved. So it's really important that, if you're changing your status, you be in status to change your status. And it's not just, okay, I feel like changing my status, I'm going to change my status. You have to have a plausible reason why you're requesting that change of status. Okay. Wow, this person is from Billings, Montana. Hi. They said, do I have to have a police report to file for VAWA? And Notario told me that, so I'm lost. Do I have a chance? Well, Tyler Dan, you should not be going to a notario for something as important as your green card or legal documents. in the United States. Call our office and we'll discuss. But the answer is that no, a police report is not a requirement. Is it helpful? Absolutely, but it's not a requirement. We would have to look at other things that went on in your relationship to determine if you qualify or not. Okay, so Nikea says, question, even though a prima facie determination letter is for a year, can you still hear back before that year ends with an approved I-360 or an EAD card and a time frame? It is unlikely. Has it happened before? For me personally, yes. But again, it is unlikely. I would say that it is literally in the 1% chance where we've had some clients get approved for a VAWA case within a year. That does not happen. And looking back, I can see what happened with those cases and why that happened, early. But most normal VAWA cases truly follow the timeline. There are very few cases that are unpredictable, but most VAWA cases, you're looking at a 2 month to I said 2 month, a 2 year to a 2.5 year timeline for some sort of decision, or even, like this is after you've gotten your prima facie, or after you've gotten your prima facie where they send you a request for additional evidence or something like that. Sometimes before you get your prima facie, they can send you an RFE because it would have the check mark basically saying, well, you don't meet the standards for a prima facie, so give us this. But once you get a prima facie, like I always say to you guys, a prima facie is not a guarantee of approval, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. A prima facie just means the basics. You've met the bare minimum. Now we're basically going to use a fine-tooth comb and let's go through the stuff and then see what else we need. So you getting that doesn't mean that they may not come back, and say, okay, give us additional information. And giving us additional information is simply just that. It's not a notice of intent to deny. It's just saying, give us additional information. You give them the additional information, and then, you keep it moving. Okay, let's see what else. Oh, there's a question in here. I recently got my work authorization and I'm waiting to get an interview date, but I realized that my U.S. citizen spouse's first name is incorrectly spelled on the marriage certificate. Will this be a problem, and how can I fix it? So the first thing is that you need to contact whatever county of clerk's office where you got married and ask them to fix it and reissue you another marriage certificate. Once they issue you another marriage certificate and you get scheduled for your interview, you're going to bring the new marriage certificate along, that says its amendment, the certified copy, along with your U.S. citizen spouse proof of name, whether that's in her birth certificate or in her U.S. passport, so that they can see that this is her name and that's what it was amended to. Misspellings happen all the time and typos happen all the time. Even USCIS makes the same errors. Sometimes we might get like somebody's receipts where they spelled L instead of I or whatever it is. So they understand that if it's USCIS own error, usually if it's a non-VAWA case, you can usually actually make the request online for them to fix the typographical error. If it's a VAWA case, it's a little bit more complicated and usually requires sending an official letter because they're trying to protect victims. All right, let's see what else they have. Kenny says, do they always ask for additional information for VAWA cases? Even if it's been over 4 years, you apply for VAWA. No, they don't always ask for additional information. Some are enough. Boo for the Boulas. Hey, boo for the Boulas. What happens when a petitioner kicked out her spouse and the husband immediately files for VAWA and for his prima facie without the petitioner knowing, and now the wife already filed for her withdrawal? The answer depends on, so the wife is the U.S. citizen and the husband is the abuser, right? No, the abused. The husband is the abuser, the wife is the abuser. Well, if the wife, if the abused victim already filed for VAWA, remember, VAWA is not an adjustment of status, right? VAWA is a standalone application and you can do it concurrently with an adjustment of status. So it will depend on how quickly the abused was able to reach out to USCIS, letting them know that they were submitting this petition and that um, they wanted to do an abeyance, where they will basically merge that 485 with the VAWA petition. If that didn't happen, um, you know, you're going to have to file a new one. Guys, I'm going to pause 1 second. I just need to take care of something. Give me 1 minute to answer my staff. Okay, so so those are the two options that they would have. Sang Kita says, "Where are you from?" I'm a citizen of the world. I'm from so many different places. Born in Texas, raised in Nigeria, spent the most of my adult years in New York. Then, well, I spent a stint in Arizona and now in Florida. So I'm from everywhere, but my birthplace, or no, let me not say my birthplace because I was born in America, but as far as my family, we're Nigerians, if that's what you're asking. Move for the lesson. I have a lot of um, I have a lot of backed up questions. I was in training, U.S. Air Force. That's awesome. Good for you. And guys, I am only going lives on Tuesdays and Fridays now at 10 o'clock. So set your clock if you want to catch me. Those are the times that I will be on live. 10 a.m. every Tuesday and every Friday. If other times I want to just pop in, I might. But as far as me being live, where you can ask me live questions and I can answer you Tuesdays and Fridays, 10 a.m. Okay. Um, okay. So Kenny says it's been 4 years I applied. I've been getting a prima facie every 6 months now. And should I be worried it's taken this long? But my work authorization is always renewed. Yeah. 4 years is a long time. You definitely want to do a status inquiry to see what's going on. I suspect they're doing some, investigation or background investigation. But I would say that 4 years is a long time. Mm-hmm. All right, let's see what else we have here. I'm a green card holder and married to my husband. When can I apply for citizenship? Um, you can apply. So you're a green card holder and your husband is the one you got your green card from and he's a US citizen or a green card holder. If that's the case, you can apply for citizenship as long as you've been married to your husband for 3 years and you've had your green card for 3 years. Then you're eligible for citizenship. Okay. King Panado says, I did an interview and the officer said he would do a background check and approve my case. Is this normal? There's no consistency amongst officers. Every officer is different and what they're looking for is different. Sometimes we can go to an interview and, the officer tells us, I'm recommending you for approval. And before I get back to my office, the person is approved or, later on that afternoon. The other times, it takes a couple of weeks for the approval, and other times it takes 6 months or even longer. It just depends on the client, what they've presented, and what they need to investigate. I've had a client where there was some issue with a client's name, and they needed to do some verification on how their name was and their birth certificate were down, and that person got approved a month later. And then sometimes, especially if you've been married before, sometimes they might want to do a little bit more investigation. So, there's never any smoke without fire. And that's why it's important to tell your lawyers everything that's going on and not just give them tidbits and then we're surprised at the interview, like, what? You didn't tell me this. Usually if after 6 months, they haven't approved you for a marriage-based case. This is after your interview. You always just want to prepare that you're doing some extensive investigation, a background investigation on you, and that there's a possibility that you're going to be called back for a Stokes interview, or you're going to be paid a visit, or your landlord is going to be paid a visit, or your spouse is going to be paid a visit at their work and stuff like that. So you just want to make sure that you're dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Okay, let's see what else I have. Kenny, your lawyer says, my lawyer said for VAWA cases, you can call them to ask questions about VAWA. Yes, you can call them. However, you can write them, or you can use the VAWA attorney hotline, which your lawyer should know. If not, you might want to consider moving on to somebody else. So everybody said, what is a fee waiver from USCIS? A fee waiver is something that you're eligible for if you meet the income requirement where you're living under the poverty guidelines. It's very hard these days to get a fee waiver from USCIS. And honestly, if you can swing it, just pay your filing fees, because you're just going to delay your case several months from them making a decision, denying you, sending it back, then you having to, do that. All right, so let's see. What else do we have here? Okay. I answered that one. Somebody asked, thank you for the information, but one last question. Can someone travel while they do a status change, and how long is the time frame? No, you cannot travel. You're not coming back without, basically you've abandoned your status request. And status change in this context is different from an adjustment of status. Because with an adjustment of status, you can't travel until you get a travel permit. When you get a travel permit, you can travel. But if you're changing because you're going from like a B1, B2 to an F1, or like an F1 to a B1, B2, you can't leave the country because you're trying to change your status. If not, you're going to have to go through the whole process of getting yourself back into the country. Okay. The Real Townsend says, what are the 5 key evidence needed when applying for VAWA? What makes you say that there are 5 key evidences? Like, where did you get that from? How do you know your VAWA has been approved? Because you send an approval letter. But usually with VAWA cases, there are 2 steps to approval when you do a VAWA. When you do a VAWA and a adjustment of status. So VAWA is to basically be classified as a victim of abuse and get deferred action. And adjustment of status is to get a green card. So if you want to know if you've been approved for the first stage, which is the VAWA approval, usually USCIS, towards the timeline that I keep mentioning, about 2 years to 2.5 years, USCIS will send you an approved work permit. This approved work permit, you're going to see where it says Category C31. A Category C31 is not issued unless you've been approved. But it's weird that it comes before the letter, and it can come several months before the letter. So once you get that, you know that your approval letter is coming. And once you get that approval letter, they will then schedule you for your VAWA interview within a couple months. So in the heat and in the thick of the pandemic, we're seeing that they would waive some people's VAWA interviews and just ask for their medical and approve them for their green card at the adjustment of status stage. But now we're seeing that they're scheduling those again. So, that's that. Okay. What else do I have here? If you're doing an adjustment of status, can you travel within the U.S. on your international passport? Personally, I would say you should just wait to get your travel permit. As a matter of fact, just recently, like 2 weeks ago, when I traveled to Atlanta, there were like ICE officers right there in the hallway on the plane, ready to arrest me if I was not Can you guys hear me? I think like my Wi-Fi just shut down. Can you guys hear me on Facebook and Instagram? If you can hear me, just comment in the box so that I know that I'm not talking to myself. Um, okay, let me go back to that question that somebody asked me, and I've lost the question. Oh my goodness. Um, I've lost the question because I lost signal, so I don't know what the question was. If you remember what I was just talking about, um, you can ask me again. Um, Okay, yes, I found it. Can a sister file for a brother? So a U.S. citizen sister or brother can file for their sibling. The only thing is that it takes a long time. As of yesterday, when I checked, you're looking at a 15-year wait time if you're not from certain countries. If you're from the Philippines or Mexico, it takes a longer time in certain other countries, but for every other country you're looking at a 15-year wait. So usually it's not the best option, but you can certainly apply while you're still looking for other options that work, and so that if nothing else works and 15 years later your visa becomes available, then you can do it. Okay. So the real Tantan says, for proof, I just said 5 short lists. I know cohabitation is an important one, just asking things they would ask. So basically, when you're thinking about a valid case, there are certain things that you have to prove. You have to prove that you have good moral character. You have to prove that you were actually battered, meaning that there was extreme cruelty or abuse that happened to you. And abuse takes many forms. It could be physical, it could be financial, it could be sexually, it could be abuse of the legal system, psychological, emotional. So there's just so many things, and they look at a pattern of behavior or compounding of behavior that could arise to making somebody, you know, um, feel extremely battered. And then, of course, good faith marriage is a requirement as well. And as you said, cohabitation is a requirement. Good faith marriage, for those who don't know, means that your marriage is legitimate, is real, and not entered into for the purposes of immigration. Sometimes when I say to people, well, what proof do you have? What bona fides do you have? Or what proof of good faith do you have? And they're like, well, I have my marriage certificate. You know, your marriage certificate is a legal document that just shows that you're married. Yeah, we know you're married legally, but it doesn't show that it is a legitimate marriage. So they need proof of those things to show legitimacy. Okay. Oh, okay. Somebody said we missed the part about the ICE agents. Yeah, these cats are not playing. Yeah, so like I was saying, when I was traveling on the plane, there were ICE agents, because I was answering the question where somebody asked about, can we travel locally on the plane, if we're filing for adjustment of status with our national passport. And I was like, just wait until you get your travel permit and work permit, because this stuff is not a myth. Like, they're around. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not there, but specifically I remember being there, and there were about five of them right there, like right before the entrance of the for us to enter into the plane, like after you've passed the boarding, like you've scanned your boarding, waiting to and stopping people, like randomly, for identification. I know sometimes that happens as well, even on long distance trips on road. So so I would say caution you and just say it's just better to wait till you get your travel permit to be doing fine. Just unless you have unless you're in another status, because you just don't want to deal with it. I mean, granted, if you have your case already pending and you can show them that, but it's not worth it to be an NTA, like to be, because once you step into removal territory, meaning that they give you a notice to appear in front of an immigration judge, it completely changes your case. It completely changes who has jurisdiction of your case. It becomes messy. So if you don't have to, don't do it, and just wait till you get your travel permit. Okay. Um, Everybody said, do you recommend anyone to travel on advanced parole? Yeah, if you don't have any removal cases, and you don't have a pending asylum case for your home country, and you have advanced parole, sure, travel. If you travel though, just make sure that, personally, I always say don't travel for a long time. Don't travel for more than 30 days. Just travel, go, come back, because with the world of the pandemic and how unpredictable this world has been in the last 2 years, the worst thing is you don't want to be stuck in a place where they close the borders because they don't want any kind of disease or pandemic, and then you're stuck there, you can't get here, and because you're not a US citizen, so you're not considered a priority to bring back here. So just, if you do travel, make sure that you're not going for a long time. Okay. Let's see what else. Shadden says, I'm a green card holder who is married to my husband. I can't petition for him until I'm a citizen. I'm here from 2019. When can I apply for citizenship? Shadane, the answer would depend on, well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter because you are, if you're applying for your husband, you technically don't even qualify for 3 year. So 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So 90 days before the 5th year anniversary of your green card is when you can submit your initial application. Okay. Constance says, after my biometric, uh, my goodness, I don't understand what you wrote, Constance. If you can just rewrite it. I can't understand what you wrote. Okay, guys, I gotta get some work done. I will talk to you guys later. And on Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. Tyler says, post more TikTok videos. Honestly, I actually really hate TikTok, believe it or not, because it takes so much time to do, and I am busy. Like, when I tell you guys I'm busy, like, my kids barely see me, so I'm trying to balance my life. Like, for a 15-second video, the amount of stuff that I have to do just to get it up there and caption it. So it might look like fun, but it takes a lot of work. So I don't know that, I'm gonna post it. My brother's laughing at me. So I don't know that I'm gonna be posting all the time, but you know, I'll try. Maybe I'll get one once a week. I'll try and do it. Okay, guys, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Y'all set your notification for Tuesdays and Fridays at 10 a.m. I'm gonna be live. If I pop up during the other days of the week, I'm just popping up if I have time, but I never have time. So, I'm really trying to balance my time. But for sure, you'll find me Tuesdays and Fridays unless I'm in an interview, just so that, you can ask me questions live. All right, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.